So now that we know how to convert between percents, decimals, and fractions and work with some use proportions to solve some percent problems, we can apply percents through percent increase and decrease. And that's what we're going to work on today. You know, we might look and hear and see statistics about the population increasing or decreasing in certain areas, and they might use a percent to represent that. Or with stocks in the stock market, you know, the percent that it fell or increased the value of that stock that day or over the course of time. You know, did you make money? Did you profit by what percent, or did you lose money by what percent? And then also you think about if you're going shopping over time, the prices of items, there might be a percent increase or decrease when there's a sale. So percents are really applicable in a lot of places in your life, and one aspect of the percents is focusing on how much did the item change? What percent did it increase or decrease by? So copy down your target and let's get into this. Percent change is the ratio, you need to write this down, the ratio of the amount of change to the original amount. So make sure you fill that in on your notes. It's a fraction, guys. It's a ratio, which is a fraction of the amount of change. How do you find the amount of change? Well, it's the difference, right? It's the difference between what you started with and where you ended with. And that's always going to be divided by the original amount. So remember that when I say ratio, a ratio could be written with the word to. A ratio could also be written with the fraction bar. Percent change is the amount of change, or the difference between where you were and where you are, divided by the original amount. If the original increases, it's a percent increase. If the original decreases, it's a percent decrease. So let's try our first example of this. We're going to need to make sure we understand which is our original amount and which one is our new amount. Find the percent change and state whether it's a percent increase or decrease. From 25 to 49. Well, we always want to know our original amount. We need that to be on the bottom. So what did you start with? The word from signifies that to you. So from 25 means this is your original amount. To find the percent change, you're going to find the difference, or the amount of change, which means you're just going to subtract the two numbers. It does not matter how you do the subtraction. I always do the larger minus the smaller, because I'll state at the end if this was an increase or a decrease, okay? So do the larger minus the smaller, and then we'll state at the end if we went up or down in this situation. It's always going to be written over the original amount. That's the from part, so over 25. Now let's simplify this. 49 minus 25, what does that give you? That gives you 24 over 25. Now you can use your calculator to divide that, or you might know this one, okay? I want to get this to be a percent, which means I want to get it to be out of 100. So you might recognize that all I have to do is multiply the bottom by 4 to get 100. So you can do that on the top too. 4 times 24 is going to give me 96. So this is a 96%. And then was it an increase or decrease? Well, remember, if the original increases, it's an increase. If the original decreases, it's a decrease. My original was 25. I ended up at 49. So I increased. So we want to say 96% increase. You can also write that as an arrow up. So you can say or 96%. And you can signify it as an increase with an arrow pointing up. Let's try the next one. Mrs. Peterson bought a new car for $28,000. 5 years later, she wanted to trade it in, and the dealer tells her it's worth $24,000 at $500. Which is the original cost, and then we're going to find our percent change. Well, I don't see the word from here, but what happened first? She bought the car, so this is going to be our original. I'm going to label that O. First thing to do to find the percent change is find the difference. I like to do the larger minus the smaller, so set that up for me. Always over the original. She bought the car for $28,000. You may want your calculator here to help you. So we're going to do the subtraction, and then we're going to do the division here. We need to do $28,000 minus $24,500. That gives me a difference of 3,500 over the 28,000. And now do that division. Divide that by the 28,000, by the original cost. Oops. Sorry, my calculator's holding functions. Okay. There we go. And we get 0.125. That's the decimal. Convert this to a percent. To convert a decimal to a percent, you must multiply by 100, which is just the same as moving the decimal over twice. So this is a 12.5%. What? Increase or decrease? Well, my original cost was 28,000. So my original did what? It went down. So this is going to be a percent decrease. 12.5% decrease. Again, you can use the arrows to signify increase or decrease, or you can write the words out. You have to identify the original cost first. So where else do we see a change? Well, think about it. When you're exercising, when you're doing something that's athletic, your heart rate changes, and it increases when you're working out, and then it slows down afterwards and decreases. So when Jim was exercising, his heart rate went from 70 beats per minute to 98 beats per minute. What was the percent increase? So this problem, I'm already telling you it's an increase. You just have to find what percent it changed by. Well, he went from the 70, so that from part tells me that's where I started with. That's going to be your denominator. To the new one, which is 98. Find the difference on the top, and then do this subtraction. So when we find the change that occurred, 98 minus 70 is 28. That's going to be over the original route, which is 70. So use your calculator, do the division here. You could reduce that fraction. Hopefully you recognize that. But you can always just divide if you don't see it, okay? So you could always just use your calculator and say 28 divided by 70, get your decimal answer, okay? That's going to be your decimal. If you get 0.4, what percent change is that? Well, don't forget to take your decimal and multiply it by 100 to get the percent change. So this was a 40% increase. Let's go back to what I was saying though about you reducing the fraction yourself. You may recognize that, hey, I could take out a 7 from both of these. 28 divided by 7 is 4. 70 divided by 7 is 10. 4/10 is 40%. And again, it's an increase. So two options there, guys. You can always use your calculator to divide and get the decimal, then multiply by 100 to get the percent. Or you can reduce the fraction. If you get a fraction out of 10, you know how to get the percent from there. In that case, you would know that 4/10 is 40 out of 100, and that's how you get the percent. So use your logic when you can. Use the calculator to help you when you're stuck. Let's try another one like this. You think about shopping and sales and coupons. A lot of times we talk about the percent increase or decrease that you're getting to benefit. So Katie uses a coupon and pays $7.35 for a t-shirt that normally costs $10.50. Find the percent discount. So we know if it's a discount, we're going to have a decrease, right? What was the original cost? Be careful with this. The original cost, what it's supposed to cost, is the $10.50, right? It normally costs that. So since it says normally, that's our original. That goes on the bottom. Then on the top, you just find the difference. Larger minus smaller is going to make it easiest for you. So you can use your calculator if you want. 1050 minus the 735. And then you're going to take that and divide by the 1050. Divide by the original always. My answer is 0.3. Do not stop there. Your answer is not the decimal. I asked you to find the percent. So you then have to convert that by multiplying by 100. And you're getting a 30% discount or decrease. One last application problem then, guys, and this one has a little bit of new wording that you might not be so comfortable with, so I want to make sure you pay attention to it here. Sean opens a new store at South Hills Village Mall. he calculates that he needs to sell everything 40% above the wholesale price. And you may be asking, what does wholesale mean? Well, let me explain that to you. So if you own a store, right, you have to buy the items that you're going to sell, and then you're going to sell them for more than it costs you to buy them. If you bought an item for $10 and sold it for $10, you wouldn't be making a profit. So the wholesale price is what it costs the owner to buy it, okay? This is what it originally starts out as. Then you're going to turn around at your store and sell it for more so that you make a profit, okay? So keep that in mind. The wholesale price is like what it initially starts out costing before the retailers make their profit. So he needs to sell everything 40% above the wholesale price to make a profit. If Sean purchases a printer for $85 wholesale, what will the retail price be? So this is a little bit more of an application. I want to know, how much is Sean going to charge for this printer? It cost him $85 and he needs to sell it for 40% above the wholesale price. This connects back to our last lesson, okay? So he's going to charge $85 at least for the printer, and then he's going to charge 40% above the wholesale. So he's going to charge for the printer plus some, right? Plus 40%. So how do we find 40% of the wholesale? Remember in 8.1 to 8.3, if you're finding a percent of a number, you can multiply. 40% is 40 out of 100, or it's the decimal 0.4, right? So 40% of the wholesale would be 0.4 times 85. You're going to add that 40% to what it cost him. So let's find this. What's 0.4 times 85? Well, that means he's going to add on $34 to the cost of the printer just so he can make a profit. So how much is the printer going to cost? Well, 85 plus 34 is going to give you $119. That's going to be the price of the printer that he's going to sell it for. So if you're finding the new price, again, let's kind of recap that. Since he was selling it for 40% above the wholesale price, you took the wholesale price and you added, because it was above, 40% of that cost. Remember, to find a percent of a number, you use the decimal and multiply it by that number. Perfect, guys. Then that completes this lesson on percent increase and decrease. You're going to have a quick check to do on blended schools, and there's an extra challenge if you want to try 2 more problems that are challenging. The answers to this will be posted on blended schools as well.